Hi, I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching the Apothecary Diaries, Season 1, Episode 6. The garden party is starting.
It has begun.
And Mao Mao has been marked by Jinshi.
Yeah, so both by Gyokyu and now by Jinshi.
God.
They have to share.
That was so good. That was so good. That was my favorite moment of the series so far. That entire interaction.
I'm like kicking my feet underneath the desk right now thinking about it.
I'm nervous though. Like, obviously we got a little bit of Jinshi like sparring last episode, and now we're having a continuation of the garden party into this episode. Like, we obviously have suspicions over what's going on, that there could be something bubbling up and happening this episode in terms of an issue, and that scares me.
And remember when we talked about how, as I was editing, I realized in like episode 2 at the very beginning, Lady Fuyu is shown.
Yeah.
Even though we don't get her storyline until episode 3. So us starting off last episode with seeing Jinshi like fighting in that way.
Yeah.
Leads me to believe in how kind of the episodes are set up that we are going to see that be more purposeful. The reason why we saw him fighting or being good at it later on in the story.
Yeah. All
Coming
right.
up soon, probably.
You ready?
I think so.
Sweet. Aoduo?
No, this is Lishu.
Okay. So cool.
Mao Mao bringing up a person in a tent is not lost on me after the end of last episode.
The Emperor and his younger brother. Interesting.
Too sick to leave.
Excuse you?
How dare!
Proxy war begins. Don't talk shit about Mao Mao.
She really hit the nerve there.
What? Oh my god, Mao Mao.
She wins. Daughter and mother-in-law?
What? What?
見て分かったと思うけど、まだ幼いのよね。そのようですね。 白の衣が妥当だが、あの濃い桃色、貴妃である玉葉様と被る。空気の読めない子なのかな。
カイロ、助かったわ。またお願い。
はい。
Come on, Mao Mao.
寒いなら持っておくといい。おい。おい。
Scared of her?
I mean, she kind of asked for that.
Yeah.
玉葉様にも許可をもらうんだもの。
Got her permission. Interesting.
かんざし？
ああやって花の園に隠れた優秀な
ああ。
勧誘するのよ。まあ違う意味もあるんだけどね。
そうですか。
違う意味もあるんですってば。
I love like I'm not even prying.
意味ね。
これをどうぞ、お嬢さん。
He seems sweet, but Jinshi's not gonna stand for it.
恥をかく次女がいないよう、皆に配っているのか。
No.
俺、リハクって言うから。よろしく。
I don't
Okay.
trust him anymore.
大型犬。
それもらったの？見せて見せて。
参加賞ですが。
それだけでは寂しいでしょ。お久しぶりね。
The expressions are so interesting from everybody else. Look at the ladies in waiting. Wow.
用事はこれだけ。リファ様。行きますよ。
Wow.
They're all so shocked. Oh my god, Mao Mao. I believe you should have more.
どころじゃないかもね。かんざしどうするの？
Show us Jinshi and Gyokyu reacting to this.
こうしてみるとなかなか。思ったよりお偉いさんなのか。やはり武漢に混ざっても違和感がない。
Hell yeah.
さっきの武漢も末席だが、年齢を考えると出世頭か。あのキラキラした宦官はいないけど。
Glittering eunuch.
それより毒味だ。
接触部分に曇りはない。匂いも異常なし。演下するまでガッと組の仕事。あとは真水で口を。合ってないようなもの。毒を食らうのは私くらいか。
どうせならフグがいいな。
Understandable, but I love Mao Mao so much. Oh my god.
あの舌先がしびれる感じがたまらないんで。
集中。このナマス、帝の好物だよ。高級でもたまに出てた。
I love that she took off everything of everyone else except Gyokyu for this.
Yeah.
帝の職を預かる小職が具材を間違えるはずがない。玉葉様も好き嫌いは特にないし、さては配膳を間違えたの？
She has dislikes.
魚苦手なのか。残すわけにもいかないよな。
We did hear she was a picky eater at the beginning.
Who are you?
嫌なものを見た。
Sadistic. It's like they know that she's not gonna like it and they're enjoying it.
やたら威勢のいい毒味役がいるぞ。する姿なんて見て何が面白いんだ。
Wait until you see Mao Mao.
あの毒味役、さっきの嬢ちゃんか。
Does she look like absolutely beautiful to them when she's eating?
どれだけうまいんだ。
これ毒です。
キキのスープに毒？毒なんて本当なのか？大臣、何を？大臣がスープを飲んで倒れたぞ。 するよ。
ごきげんよう、ジンス様。
ご機嫌はそ
毒に浮かれてつい笑いかけたみたいに。
医務室へ向かう。
Oh no, he's
Oh,
worried
wow.
about her.
吐き出しました。本当はあのまま飲み込みたかったけど、毒が全身を巡って。ジンシ様、残りのスープをください。向上心が強いと言ってください。
Eager to improve.
本当に毒入りかと飲んで倒れて。
See if it was really poisoned. Why?
Like they didn't believe her.
大臣だ。おかげで余計大騒ぎになった。
ならこれを使ってください。オート薬です。よく吐けるように作りました。
She packed something.
新しいかんざし。看板もかんざしをもらうのか。いつものキラキラさもない。遠石で姿を見ないと思ったらそういうことか。今なら年相応の青年にだいぶ幼く見える。こちらの方がまだいいな。
Whoa.
He's the little brother. The table he was about to walk out to was where the little brother was supposed to sit.
さすが宮廷医局の薬。
大丈夫か。
はい、もう何も出ません。
では話を聞こうか。
そのことで連れてきてもらいたい方がいます。
Prank someone.
リーシュ様を
Oh
呼んでいただ
shit.
けませんか。
Maybe because she wants the lady in waiting in particular.
お呼び立てしたのはこちらの次女でして。
次女が
Oh, look at her arm.
失礼します。やっぱり食べられないのは魚介ですか。
She's allergic.
人によっては食べられないもの。かくいう私も
Buckwheat, interesting.
毒は平気で食らうのにか。
Tried to build a tolerance. Of course she would have.
しかし足が狭まり呼吸困難になりました。
Just the allergy of it, you know?
が出るので量の調節が難しく治りが遅い。食べられないとはそういうことです。リーシュ様、お腹の調子は大丈夫ですか。よければ下剤を。なんでわかったの。園遊会の食事は呼吸側が用意したものでした。ですが何かの手違いで玉葉様とリーシュ様のお食事が入れ替わったのでしょう。食べられないものはサバですか。これは好き嫌い以前の問題です。今回はジンマシンで済みましたが、時に呼吸困難を引き起こし、知っていて与えたのなら
Knowingly.
毒を盛るのと同じことです。あなた、毒味役の方でしたね。
The smile she gave, knowing.
注意事項をまとめておきました。取らないのが一番ですが、ご確認ください。難しいことはありません。間違えれば遺憾であろうと対処できない。命に関わる問題であること。夢夢。
Oh my god.
Like threatening her, but like,
脅しはこんなもんか。
oh my gosh, I bet it did.
どういうことだ。
下船のものゆえお手を触れないでいただけますか。
そんなことを言うのはお前くらいだ。
では皆気をつけて。玉葉様に報告がありますので。
待て。なぜ毒味役の次女をわざわざ同席させた。
何のことでしょう。
とぼけるな。呼べと言っただろう。
注意事項を伝えるためです。
配膳の者が間違えたというのか。
一階の次女にはわかりません。
これくらいは答えてくれ。狙われたのは特費、リーシュ費ということだな。
他の皿に毒が入っていなければ。
そうか。
Lishu was the one that was a concubine to the old emperor.
Yeah.
Her being the true target. Interesting.
疲れた。
やはり関わりがあるのでしょうか。先ほどの次女にやけどの跡はありませんでしたが。
一体誰が。
I'm mad.
That it's over?
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay, that was the Apothecary Diaries, Season 1, Episode 6. The score is super interesting. It started off, like, in the series, super just traditional and very easy in terms of evolution to what it's already become. I would love to see the production side of things for the score in the show. It's super interesting to me.
I didn't notice it as much in this episode as I did in last episode, and I wonder if that's because last episode had kind of such a kind of ramping up moment that really showcased it, and which is why it was like my attention was drawn to it a little bit more.
In this episode, it was more like utilizing the traditional sound in like new ways with compression and like reverb. I really liked it. Okay, just to make sure I'm clear with it, because I could totally be wrong. So, the Emperor's mom is Empress Dowager.
Yes.
And the Emperor's father, obviously not in the picture anymore, dead. The Emperor's father had a concubine, which was Li Shu, who was 9 years old. And now, that is why the term mother-in-law is coming into play, because of that dichotomy, that relationship, right?
It's almost said as a joke, even more so because of the fact that their ages and that it's flip-flopped than what you would actually, and what Mao Mao originally thought, which is that the current 14-year-old was actually the mother-in-law in this scenario to the currently 35-year-old.
Okay, and Empress Dowager, is that the person that's on screen right now?
No, I believe that's Ao Duo.
Oh, that's Ao Duo? Do we see Empress Dowager?
I believe there she is.
Okay.
She's holding
Cool.
Yingling.
So,
Or Zhaoling.
to go with what you were saying too then, like, and how they're making it out to be, I'm not like confident enough to be like, this is 100% it, because they could be faking me out. But they reference the younger sibling who, rumor has it, has been sick, or and that's why they're kept in their room. But with similar hair color and eye color, it could be obvious that Jinshi is the younger sibling.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're thinking?
So I have theory evidence, I guess, from this episode in particular that's having me lean in that direction. Obviously, going into this episode, I was like, there's no way in my mind that Jinshi could be that close in relation to the Emperor and it not be something that is talked about or a title he's called, something that's common knowledge to the main concubines to the Emperor. So I was like, what is he? Who is he to the Emperor? Because he can't be one of these, like, a bigger relation, like a brother.
Yeah.
But there was something in this episode that reminded me of something last episode, which this show has started to kind of weave things in as, like, thematic foreshadowing and kind of through lines. Last episode, we get this idea that, and it's brought back in this episode, it's talked about again in this episode, of Mao Mao putting on freckles to appear in a different way to everyone. And she's called the ugly girl by the other concubines of the Crystal Pavilion in this episode. And then everyone sees her without the freckles, and it's almost like this giant transformation that shows that she's actually really cute. When we see Jinshi again in this episode, this is one of my pieces of evidence. He peeks out of the curtain from behind the Emperor, from behind the table that the younger brother is supposed to be sitting at. Everyone else exits side stage.
Yeah.
He comes in from behind the Emperor. I feel like to be able to enter this garden party from somewhere so close to the Emperor, you have to be someone well trusted by the Emperor.
Yeah.
But also, just the scene being set up that he's entering from behind the empty table. Okay, so why would that make sense? How could he be the Emperor's little brother who was just there moments ago, and now he's not, but no one's telling us it's Jinshi? Well, when Mao Mao sees him, she says, he's disheveled. He looks like he just quickly put back on his clothes. He doesn't have the glitter that he normally does. His hairpin is changed.
Different, yeah.
And he looks younger.
Yeah.
So she's noting all of these physical differences about how he's appearing. The things that he's changed, both clothing-wise, hairpin-wise, this kind of glitter and the way that he normally appears that almost gives you this idea of possible makeup, that he appears younger now.
Yeah.
And he's disheveled, as if you'd think maybe he just changed his outfit really quick. And that's why I'm bringing up Mao Mao's freckles from last episode.
Yeah. So my question there is more about, like, what would the other concubines' knowledge be? Are you currently thinking that his disguise is so good that none of the concubines are able to realize it's the same person? Or is it like the concubines know it's the Emperor's little brother, but the ladies in waiting might not? Or it's just like... I think the only reason I have a question about that specifically is because when Mao Mao is peeking through the curtain with the other lady in waiting, we're like, oh yeah, I think he was just here a moment ago. So it's obvious that they could, in theory, get a view of him when he was there, right? And how could Jinshi look so different than his normal self that it wouldn't at least be like a question?
So a few ways you could tackle that is makeup that ages someone. The second way you could go about it is that Master Jinshi is of family relation. Whether you try to describe him as a cousin or a brother to Empress Dowager, because then you'd get, oh, of course he would look similar to the Empress Dowager's children if he's related to Empress Dowager. So you could go about it that way, like be like, oh, well, he's in the family. The son of the previous emperor, the younger brother, is in that family. He could look similar.
Yeah.
So that's a way you could go with it. I think that another piece to bring up is how Mao Mao's actually surprised at the position that Goshen's in, where he's sitting.
Yeah.
So that's something to take note of.
I acknowledge your evidence and I agree with it.
I get the like hang up of well, why would it really be something that people can't actually tell, or would at least be curious
like
about?
Superman putting glasses on, you know, type beat.
Yeah, and also the idea that you brought up of like, do you think the concubines know? So I can go two ways with that. One is specifically Li Shu's the only concubine that we're shown having somewhat of a crush on Jinshi, and I think that could be age, and it also could be like, if you've already been moved from one emperor to another and you are aware that this younger brother could one day be the emperor, you might think that you'll one day be moved to this person.
Yeah.
And so it wouldn't be weird for her to necessarily have a crush on Jinshi.
It would definitely add up in terms of what we were talking about with like how much trust the emperor must have. Like that was what, at least for me, earlier in episodes, like the emperor coming up and being like, yo, Gyokyu, like get this apothecary on the case, and like the idea of Jinshi's tunnel of information being so trusted that the emperor has that faith in it. Like that was one of the standout moments of the series for me, of thinking that Jinshi's more important than he might first like be perceived as, because to be the closest hand to the emperor in terms of health, right, for a concubine and their future children, that's a massive amount of trust. And if it was younger brother, that would make a lot of sense.
And it also could be even more of a massive test, not only for the concubines, if they do know, but also for Jinshi. This idea, like, this man could be future emperor one day. And we're putting him in this position where it's testing this idea of, like, you are not the one in power right now. But we're giving you power. But we're also watching how you use that power.
As Jinshi, you mean? I don't know, man.
He could be, it's almost more of an magnifying glass on his actions.
It depends on like what the situation is, right? Because if the emperor has a son and then the emperor dies, would the son be then the next emperor, and it would skip over Jinshi depending on how old that son is? You know, like did Jinshi even want to be within the political side of things in the first place?
I don't know if he'd get a say of whether he wanted
well,
to.
no,
be or
for
not.
sure, but his own like personality, right? We've seen a bunch of Mao Mao's personality, but in trying to uncover who Jinshi really is, the most we've really gotten was his sense of like feeling like guilt and being like, doesn't that make you angry about the state of where things are at last episode? Like,
and that he should be the one policing them, or like he could have the power to police them.
More so that it was like it's their responsibility to, in like a them sense, not specifically Jinshi, I would think. But I am interested to see that character, like to learn more about Jinshi and where his actual morality lies and where his desires do.
It definitely could make more sense, kind of breadcrumb wise, of this character hardly ever acting straightforward. When you get this idea of straightforward, it's someone being genuine and vulnerable and real with you for a moment. And Mao says, like, wow, he's being straightforward with me last episode. And if he is possibly in this circumstance that we've been talking about of kind of faking some sort of appearance of, I'm actually the younger brother to the emperor, but I'm portraying myself as Master Jinshi in the rear palace.
Yeah.
You know, that idea that straightforward, genuine, it's something that he would be hiding who he truly is or his true colors because he's trying to come off as this seductor, you know, this test for the concubines. Man,
one of the like most interesting scenes this episode was like Mao making a point being like, okay, like first things first, call Lady Lishu in with the tester, right? Like that wasn't even what was specifically asked of what Mao was supposed to be doing then, but it never left her mind the second that she saw it. And I loved how like contextually within what period we're in and at, like Mao's, there are foods that you can't eat. The idea of her using that terminology of like what can't and versus won't versus preference. There's so much respect and an effort into not being disrespectful to like the hierarchy of what's going on here, but there's what respect only goes so far before somebody dies. And I don't know, I really love the dialogue from Mao really honing in on okay, me buckwheat, my throat closed up, like that's the like you can't fuck with that, you know.
It really brings in not only the storyline with Lady Luha and the fact that she was still being given the white powder that had poisoned her child to death, basically, by a lady in waiting in order to like continue Lady Luha looking beautiful. Here we have at the very beginning of this episode, the ladies in waiting to Lishu bringing up that she's a picky eater.
Yeah.
You know, this kind of disregard for the severity of someone's illness or for a poison or for an allergy. And I find that kind of parallel. It's definitely a parallel, especially because we get the Crystal Pavilion ladies in waiting again. Not the main one that did the makeup, because I doubt she would have joined in with the kind of proxy wars with Gyokyu's ladies in waiting.
Yeah.
But the other one that Mao we saw her kind of put her hand against the wall and give a scary glare to. Yeah.
I like looking back on it with the knowledge, with the knowledge that we have now about like the severity of what this fish was doing to Lishu. It adds so much more context to the facial expression that she was having when Mao was like, I guess she doesn't like fish, you know, like mackerel. But no, she was like terrified. She was sweating because she knows from her past that she's gonna have a reaction to this, and she doesn't know how severe it's even going to be.
I feel like age-wise too, especially if she's been in this situation since she was so young, and she's being treated even now as somewhat of a child, a picky eater. Her feelings aren't really being respected or taken you know? She's kind of just being treated as like a bratty kid instead of like if she came and was like, I don't want to eat mackerel anymore, it doesn't make me feel good. They're throwing back at her, oh, you're just a picky eater. I doubt they even knew about the rashes on her arm. I feel like if you think about teenagers in, you know, nowadays, I feel like some teenagers would hide something like that from people, especially if you're never being listened to.
Yeah. Man, the minister who tried the poison after Mao Mao was like, it's poison, fucking idiot. That being said, though, to me, the first thing I'm thinking of is, holy shit, that entire place now knows that Mao Mao's capable. Like, holy, like, it's one thing to be like, okay, this is poisoned, don't fuck with it, and nobody fucks with it, right? Because then there could still be rumors of, I wonder if that's actually true or not. Yeah, but the confirmation of it's interesting.
Yeah. So on that note of like Mao Mao kind of garnering more attention here with what has happened here at the garden party, we get this idea in this with the hair. I'm going to bring up the hairpins, which is a really big element for these past 2 episodes that we've watched. There's a line somewhere in here about how Gyokyu is not going to be happy once Lady Luiha gives a hairpin to Mao Mao. Mao Mao is now kind of, by this episode, she has 3 hairpins in her waistband and a necklace from Gyokyu. And now she's even going to be seen by everyone as kind of a asset to the emperor and to the concubines. I feel like bringing up the idea that Gyokyu sang to us last episode, you're my lady in waiting. But now we're getting this idea that this could be the moment in time where things really change in that regard. Like, she can't just be Gyokyu's lady in waiting. She is now transitioning possibly into something else.
Yeah, it makes me, like, I don't want to have Gyokyu not be very prominent in the story because I like her a lot, but for the sake of, like, Mao Mao, I also enjoy that she'd be trusted more and given more serious tasks, you know?
Another thing to bring up with that is Lihaku, which is what was the stance he was doing when he gave the hairpin to Mao Mao? Because I'm like, is this guy a perv? Does he have to go to the bathroom? Is he nervous and excitable? But Mao Mao went with puppy dog, and so I'm gonna listen to this. See how he's on his tiptoes? I was like, does he have to go to the bathroom, or is he like pervy?
I think it's just like a sign of being polite.
Oh,
but and like he was holding that stance until she was taking it, but she was like, Mao Mao was taking a bit longer, and he was like, oh, please take it already.
So what is with him having like multiple? Is it really a okay, Mao Mao reads it as a participation trophy, basically, like a pity gift. Which is obviously how Mao Mao would read anything like that being given to her. But how are we, the 2 viewers in this room, reading that choice of
We're given a pretty good idea of his, like, of how impressive he should be considered by us, given our past idea of Goshen is probably very, you know,
the fact that
well
he's
respected.
Sitting there. Yes.
And then we get another confirmation of, wow, Goshen really must have like a high seat at the table. And then not too far away, especially for his age, how do you pronounce it? Lihaku is right, not too far away, which again is pretty impressive. I imagine that he's going to be somewhat of a reoccurring character, specifically because we get the interaction of the dude being like, yo, Lihaku, like, open your eyes. You've got to see this. And then it's the face of Mao Mao tasting the poison.
Right. It's interesting. This is almost this garden party and these hairpins, as we're told, are kind of, there's another meaning to them. And that this almost is like a dating event. This is like you're seeing kind of who's on the market in terms of status. Like, I feel like the ladies in waiting of the concubines are probably status-wise where those more military officials, like, would partner up with.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of seeing and giving a hairpin to those that, like, you find the most beautiful, that you're interested in. What before Mao Mao's given the hairpin, we kind of see some other ladies being, you know, talking to different other military officers and being given hairpins.
Yeah.
It definitely brings up a little more of, like, me wanting to kick my feet under the table by the fact that Jinshi gave his hairpin to Mao Mao. But on that note, I have to ask you another question that I thought of. What hairpin from Jinshi did Mao Mao get? Did Mao Mao get the military officer hairpin or the possible younger brother to the emperor hairpin?
I think definitely military officer.
That's what I'm thinking too. Yeah. But then again, when I think about when we see Jinshi again, he's back dressed as... Is he dressed as... He's dressed as what a military officer would be wearing? Or is he dressed as how an emperor younger brother would be dressed?
Isn't this just what he normally is wearing?
I'm trying to remember what he was wearing when we saw him last episode.
Did
his outfit change when we see him give the hairpin to Mao Mao? His outfit must not have changed, but I guess the silver hairpin would have been his military officer hairpin.
Pretty identical to what he's currently wearing.
But we don't know what the younger brother to the prince was wearing because we don't get to see
Well,
that.
based off of Mao Mao's like observation of Jinshi's collar's like not right, right? I imagine that he changed out of what his clothes would have been if he's the brother at the ceremony versus when he interacts with Mao Mao.
The only reason I bring up the hairpins of wondering which one she got is because when you look at the one he's wearing later, when he's dressed back in his military, like in his like Master Jinshi outfit, it's a lot plainer, I feel.
Yeah.
Than the silver ornate one that he gives to her last episode. And that's why I was almost wondering if like the hairpin is significant in terms of like the one she was given is a little nicer.
Yeah.
More a status symbol.
I love Mao Mao. I appreciate Mao Mao.
Do you like the fact that she wanted to eat more of that food?
Yeah, but I think that I appreciate more that like she mentioned that to Jinshi. Like I love that her like one of my favorite faces that Mao Mao has made so far is her like really like smiley face saying good day, Master Jinshi, because she can't like hide that residual excitement from the poison. And then she says it to him like, can you get me the rest of that, please?
And he's like he literally says, you're an idiot.
Yeah. I love her so much.
One of a little spotlight thing that I wanted to bring up is I remember when we first saw the intro, the opening, and we see Mao Mao lick her lips in that, and we were like, when is she ever gonna make a face like
Makes
that?
so much sense.
Saw it. It makes a lot of sense, and now all those other military officers saw it too. Everyone saw it.
They were like, oh my god, what does that taste like? Yeah.
That's Lee Haku's reaction, is I bet that tastes good. Which I think leans into him being like more of a puppy dog personality, that he might not have seen that as like something others might have perceived as dirty.
I wonder if Jinshi's gonna get protective in terms of Lee Haku. Or maybe even Goshin if that's the closer interaction.
I did remember like a few episodes ago, I was like, why is Goshin like looking down at Mao Mao when we're like behind her looking into Lady Fuyu's window? I thought that instance was really interesting to me because they're both looking
referencing
and they're
Mao
close
Mao
together.
as Jinshi's toy.
Yeah, that, and then like when they were both looking into Lady Fuyu's window a few episodes ago and Goshin like looks down at Mao Mao as Mao Mao's looking somewhere else. That interaction had me a little bit like question mark, does Goshin think anything of Mao Mao? But it is really interesting what we're creating here in terms of not only Mao Mao's status as an asset and who might be looking at her in terms of like her ability, but also who might be looking at her romantically. Yeah. She has a lot going for her right now. She has a lot happening. She wanted a quiet, ignorant life. That when we met her, she was like, I don't want to be noticed.
Mao Mao's like a little
Ignorance is
sister
bliss.
to me. I don't want to think about romance in Mao Mao, even though that might be the entire point of this. I just love Mao Mao so much. All right, that's all I have you.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.